So, second.
Motion by Doug, second by Mary. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. We'll move on to the approval of the consent calendar, minutes from the June 13th meeting, and the payment of bills.
So moved. Second.
Motion by John, second by Doug. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carried. We'll move on to number 4. Consider second reading and adoption of ordinance 544, amending section 16-161B.
So a copy of the ordinance is in your packet. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. Basically, it has to do with the conversion over to leads online for the pawnbroker software. We'll have that in our ordinance.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Roy, a second by John to approve the second reading on adoption of ordinance 544. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Move on to number 5. Discuss and review 2024 through 2028 capital improvement plan.
So a couple of weeks ago, we kind of went through 2024, touched a little bit on some of the other ones, but tonight wanted to go through, I guess, in a little more detail. You've had a couple of weeks to look at it and kind of digest what's in here. We've got staff here to answer questions if there's any specific items that you have questions on. But, basically the CIP is kind of a long-range planning document for the city. The current, what will be the 2024 CIP, kind of naturally flows into the 2024 budget dialogue that we'll be having, starting end of July, early August, somewhere in that range, so. The numbers for the most part are estimates when it comes to projects. They're preliminary numbers from engineers and so forth. Obviously, over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of volatility in equipment and availability with equipment, vehicles, and things like that. So we've done our best to put realistic numbers into the CIP. And like I said, the 2024 stuff is kind of the critical component right now, because that's going to be also a part of the 2024 budget preparation. So anything in subsequent years, let's keep it on the radar. Numbers and also priority type stuff may change as we move forward, but. So just kind of running down, we went through the police and fire stuff. We've firmed up some of the numbers that we do have in there, specifically the keyless entry for the front and lobby doors, and also panic button stuff at the front desk at the PD. Otherwise, the stuff is the same as we had it in there 2 weeks ago. So if there's any questions on any of that. Within Park and Rec, playground equipment up at Wilson Park, pavilion roof, golf cart, picnic tables, and you'll see picnic table and garbage can kind of year after year as we start to replace what we have out there. And then storm shelter, as I mentioned last time, I do anticipate that happening this fall yet, so that may slide off of here if everything flows in the fall and we get going on the construction. Within streets, as I said last time, there's a lot of items in here that are listed every year, the mower replacement, sidewalk overlay, maintenance. With that small cities aid that the legislature approved this year, that overlay and street maintenance number, I bumped that up from 100 to 150. And as we get to budget discussions, I think that number was 68,000, something like that, so we may, choose to bump that up, to kind of max that out, continue our investment plus that small cities aid. I'm sure we can find streets out there that can use the love, so. Crack seal, just some equipment replacement, V-plow, looking at the possibility of a Ventrac unit to replace the John Deere 1025. Street shop generator, that would basically be the one that we had housed at the 12th Street lift station. That would be removed from, and moved over to the street shop and connected over there so that there's power in the case of an outage. Brine system for plow truck within the streets. We've got the community center improvements in 2024. AMI, kind of the final, I think this is at least the third year that we've been investing in AMI and anticipate that 2024 will be the final shot going into that. Prairie View neighborhood switch and boring, kind of a ballpark estimate there. We got to finalize site layout and where stuff needs to be up there. Mary Ives is here, kind of talking about what they want to do. So we've got to power those homes. The GRIP basically is that kind of a number of municipal electrics that are going together to apply for that federal funding. That's the GRIP, and that would basically be for that north connection. Get my voltages right.
Build out the 12.47 kV.
Yeah.
We have two voltages, one is 4.16 kilovolts and the other one is 12.47. And we want to expand to 12.47. Right now, our north sub is not big enough to handle the entire load if the south sub went down. So we need to build up, most of the north sub is the lower voltage, so we need to add more of the higher voltage to it. That way it can handle, it's a long story, but we need to, it can't handle the load right now, but if we build out the call for it, it can.
So again, that's part of a grant application. We have no idea at this point if that will be funded, but potentially it would go into 24 and 25 for that project. Generation project, we did a budget amendment for some feasibility study work. If it turns out that it's determined to be feasible and we want to move forward, the actual engineering part of it would happen in 2024. The numbers surrounding generation to power the city are big, so that will be something that we'll have to assess as we get a little firmer idea of what that looks like and what Missouri River is doing and all of that. Concrete pad for storage area, basically to take our outside storage that we have near the 12th Street lift station, move that upward in the neighborhood of where the old wastewater plant was. So it's all back in that same secured fenced in area. Underground improvements, you'll see that year after year. Transformer replacement, again, same thing. And in 2024, replacement of the 3/4 ton truck if we can get one. Then within water, the water node install and AMI equipment, lead service line identification. Scott talked about that a couple of weeks ago and kind of the task at hand there. Water department truck and water meters, replacing those. Safety grates for the lift stations, lift station dialers within sewer. The big one obviously for 2024 is that 2nd Street and South Side underground utility project. And again, we've got all of the applications in for funding for that, so we'll have to wait and see whether we're funded on that. Some work in the AD building out at the airport, and then also painting and carpet at the City Hall and Police Station. And we've been putting some money away for that for a couple of years now. So jumping into 2025, there's a fair amount. I should point out the column where it talks about either new or replacement in there. There's a number of items where every year we're setting aside dollars so that when the acquisition actually has to happen, we've got the money in an account for it. So turnout gear, mobile radios, squad computers, you'll see a lot of those over the years here. The 800 megahertz radio repeater is something that we've got in 2025, and the school is also looking to see if there's any funding options available there, but not the greatest 800 megahertz radio reception in the school building. So looking at doing a repeater in there. Ballistic shield scanners, Cradle Point routers for the squads, upgrading the TV and getting rid of the projector in the conference room over at the PD. And then there's also, you'll see as we get into this, kind of a systematic replacement and updating of the warning sirens. We've had a few of them that haven't quite performed the way they're supposed to all the time, so want to get that on the radar, so to speak. Within street, a lot of the same type of items that we've got there. Scott talked to us about hot box.
So when we go and fill bottles, we put the cold mix in there, it heats it up, so makes it workable.
Okay, lift station replacement down at 4th Street Southwest in Dakota. Filter media and some pump and motor rebuilds at the water plant. Within the electric, looking at doing something different with the light shop building. The second half of the grip, if we do get that grant. Light truck, and then kind of go into a series of some of the repetitive ones, but then generation is also again in 25 if we choose to go that direction. Digger derrick truck, we've got that on there. The current one is still operational, but want to keep it on the radar. At some point we'll have to replace that. Within Park and Rec, Dower Lake softball field update, renovation, picnic tables, garbage can replacement, the repetitive one that we've talked about. Continue to put money away for playground equipment. And we've had this one on there for quite a while, but the possibility of expanding the Dower Lake recreation area to the west by acquiring some additional property to be able to move to more of a regional park designation, which kind of opens it up for a lot more state grant opportunities out there. And then the big one in 2025 is that 4th Street reconstruction. Preliminary estimates of the total project on that's over $6 million. Our share would be about 3.7 with the numbers that we're working with today. So, and again, we've got applications in for funding for that project as well. So as we get into 26, 27, 28, you see the items become fewer, and a lot of them are the repetitive type items, but some specific stuff. We've got additional warning siren information. Within electric, that 8th Street electric, getting that underground. Possibly replacing the older bucket truck in 26. And then the generation project, if we end up going with that, that's almost $6 million they estimate right now. Again, Missouri River over time kind of pays for it, but we'll assess that in more detail as we determine if it's even feasible to pursue. So. Within Park and Rec, a lot of the same things. We've got replacement of downtown planters just as a placeholder in 2026, depending on their condition as we get closer to that. Squad computers, replacement of the 97 fire pumper truck. That would be the next piece of fire department equipment that that would be kind of in line for replacement when the funds are built up to be able to do that. You know, we've had this on here again for years. You know, the idea's been floated about some kind of an amphitheater up at NP Park. You know, if you go way over to the right onto that, pending fundraising and grants, you know, somebody wants to have an amphitheater named after them, we'll listen. I think getting into 28, you know, we've got a bioxide chemical replacement and some work on the lime pit, slurry tank at the water plant, but otherwise kind of repetitive items within 28 as well at this point. So any questions, you know, kind of the process with the CIP, you know, by the middle of August, we will have had scheduled a public hearing for the capital improvement plan, hold a public hearing, adopt the plan, I think by the 15th or so of August. And so it'll be the kind of a first meeting in August agenda item to do that. But so not a tight timeline here, but, you know, again, if there's things that you think of, questions that you have, please reach out and we can talk about it.
I know this is a couple of years out on the CIP, but if you could explain the Dower Lake softball field update renovation, what that's entailing and what that's.
You know, we've got, you know, just in the outfield, we've got some gopher situations. Infield would be application of AgriLime, you know, fencing, dugouts, you know, that type of thing. I think a lot of that is going to be a little bit dependent on how much utilization there is of the softball fields. You know, we haven't had softball league out there in a couple of years, but the youth baseball are using the fields out there now, and I think there's talk at least of a left-east tournament out there again this year. So, what? It is? Okay, yeah, it is on.
So it's sort of dependent on what direction those fields go for use to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
So again, just wanted to kind of put it on the radar.
Yeah.
Like I say, if there's any questions, please feel free to reach out and we can get the info to you.
Right. Move on to item number 6. Consider approval of tobacco license for Staples Smoke Shop LLC at 215 2nd Avenue Northeast.
So before we get going on this, I want to refer you to a couple of different memos from Joe Kruger that are in your packet. One of them just came in today, so it was kind of a late addition to your packet, assuming people have had the opportunity to look at the one dated June 21st. And if I could, I want to just kind of frame where we're at in this whole process. So the tobacco license application that you have in front of you was received by the city of Staples prior to Ordinance 543, which is the one where the 300 feet came in, prior to that becoming effective. So the 300 feet is not relevant to this application. If we got another application tomorrow or a different one, then that comes into play. So the 300 feet should not be part of the decision-making process here tonight. And even if it was, the building at this address is outside of the 300 feet. So I think it was brought up about the future addition to the high school building. You'll see in the memo from City Attorney Kruger, till there's a wall there, you're going by the existing wall. So even if the 300 feet was in, this is outside of it. So, our ordinance lays out 5 issues or 5, basically items that would be a basis for denial. Within the tobacco ordinance, it doesn't mean you have to deny it, but it gives you grounds to if you choose to. There's a lot of may or must. And it says specifically in there that, if there's one of these, which there is not in this case, one of the 5 basis for denial items, it does not mean that the council must deny the license. So there's some leeway in there related to tobacco license that does not exist when it comes to alcohol. The background check was conducted, and it identifies no items that would be used as a basis for denial. None of the 5 are present in this situation. The memo from City Attorney Kruger dated June 21st basically lays out that tobacco license applications are presumptive applications. If there's no basis for denial, it's presumed that they will be approved. And that's what he means by presumptive applications. So as the council considers this, one, the application came in before the new ordinance became effective. So keep that in mind, and just also the information from the city attorney that was requested by the council 2 weeks ago. So, I don't know, Missy, if you want to.
I mean, we've just had a little discussion, and just to kind of reiterate what I brought up the first time we discussed the tobacco shop, is I did reach out to some chiefs in other communities where these shops exist, one of them being Little Falls, where they already operate, and glowing recommendations from the chief that it's properly run, lawful business, they don't have issues, they're cooperative with the city and law enforcement, and for that reason, I'm not sure what the issue is, I guess, with the denial, but lawfully, there is no reason to deny it.
So I know that Ray, is here if you have any questions of him, or if you'd like to, say anything related to your application or what your plans are.
Yes, I'm here just to listen.
If you could, you want to.
I'm speaker, but I try. I'm a worker, not a speaker. Hi, my name is Ray Doden. I used to have a business in Stable a few years ago, Southside Mini Mart. I have it before here. And I've been in Little Falls since 2008. I've been in Santa Cloud since January 20, 2000. And I have a couple business. I have a couple commercial property, like a unit, like from 9 store. And I have a gas station. I have a 2 laundromat in Little Falls, plus a gas station. I always work with the police, with the city, with anything we need. We apply here, and I listen to everything. And I could say that to you from now. If anything in the future, the school, they want to do extension more bigger, I don't have a problem to move the smoke shop from that area to different location. So I'm work with the city, I always do. I respect the law is above everybody. It's just something to start with it. And if there's anything in the future, I don't have a problem to move our location to different location that's work with us. It's just something we start with it. Anything in the future, we are ready to deal with it. And about the law and smoke shop, it's have a law like you can't be under 21 to be in. So it doesn't matter, even if you come with your son or with any kids with you, we have the right to tell you, you could keep them in the car or you could come in next time, but they're not allowed it to be under 21 inside the smoke shop because it's not a convenience store. Smoke shop have to be assigned there by the state. When they come and checking in, we have to put in the window, not allowed it under 21 to be inside the store. Is there any question? Or you have anything?
As far as THC and marijuana go, they will never be able to sell from that location, correct?
We are work with the city. Anything they are not allowed to be there, we are with the law, so we don't have to be. If you told me there's some physics, some stuff, you're not gonna have it there, we are for the law, we don't have to keep it there. So we just, like we said, just we're gonna start it, and anything after that or anything you could use rules, we are follow the rules all the time.
I just didn't want you blindsided if you didn't know that.
We are not playing, like I said, I mean, I've been like 3 different locations. I could show you all my report from Santa Cloud and Little Falls. Since I opened, I never have one mistake to check ID. I have a letter every year they send to us. Congratulations, you're passing your test. Anything they are said you're not allowed it, we take it immediately in the same day. We're not, I'm open guy. I don't have nothing under the table. If you said that's not allowed it, they be out the shelf before you leave the door. This is not something I say that just to approve me, but that's how we are. I have a kids, I have family. I mean, my kids not better than other kids, so we are just, everybody have a family. And my kids, they go to school now. So we just, like I said, basically we follow the law, whatever is have to be done, we do it right away. And you could welcome anytime, you check in it, and like what they do in my other location, you're welcome anytime.
Any other questions?
And like I said again, if anything in the future, if the school, they have to extension more building, we'd be happy to help. And I don't have a problem to find another location. We could move the smoke shop to different location if we have to. And if the school, they want to the city, we are work together, we could do it. That's no problem. That's no issue to me. It's just something to start with it.
Yeah, it's been a hot topic, you know,
And like I said, in the end, I'm with the law. It's nothing, nobody above the law. So I'm just a person.
I walk all over town in the evenings and you can stop on one block and have somebody rant for a half an hour about how they don't want a smoke shop. And you go around the next block and there's a person saying that they want a new business. So it's been really divided. So,
Yeah, and I used to be before here, and I have a business in the southeast. Same thing, I sell tobacco, I always follow the law. So I always want to be here, and I was planning to buy it when it was open that time, because they offered it to me when I used to own the store. Then my neighbor, he keep offering to me, I need the location. So we sold it, we buy the unit in Santa Cloud, but we come back to the town. And actually, my cousin, he's planning to move here to running that place. And his son, he's born in stable here, Santa Cloud, stable hospital. And in the end, we're for the law.
All right. If there aren't any other questions, thank you for.
Yes, sir, thank you.
I guess at this time we could entertain a motion.
I'll take a motion.
All right, motion by Mary Jo.
I struggle with this one. I feel like I have to vote yes for something I don't want. That's how I feel. But I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a second by John. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
All right, let's go. Did you get them all?
No.
Go
I
again?
didn't hear.
Mary Jo.
I reluctantly said aye too.
I abstain.
So we have
You were no, Doug?
five ayes and an abstain, is that correct? Right, 5 ayes.
5 ayes or 4 ayes, 1 no, 1
I vote no.
abstention?
You vote no, okay. 4 ayes, 1 no, and 1 abstain. All right, motion passes. Move on to the next item of business, which is committee reports. Oh, no, I'm sorry. First reading of ordinance 545, amending chapter 103, articles 3 and 4 of building and building regulations.
I hate to go back to the smoke shop thing, but it doesn't really have effect
I
much.
don't know if we,
We can still,
I can still talk a little bit, but, I want to apologize to the school. But also at the same time, I don't know if the proximity matters as much as we think it is. I think it's almost so close to this school that all the watchful eyes that will be on it may be a good thing. From somebody who's 8 years sober, I've struggled with addiction most of my adult life, and I can tell you that when I would drive to Wisconsin from here on a Sunday morning to get alcohol, because I didn't think I had enough, didn't think I had enough to get me through the day, proximity doesn't always matter.
no.
So I just want to put that out there that I'm trying to find the good in this. And we have to trust in us as parents and educators that we've done the best with our kids to make good choices.
I think we also need to trust our police force. They're gonna do compliance checks on a regular basis, and we're gonna do our very best to make sure that everything is done as it should be done as well.
and it's been very divisive. Of all the things that I hear, I've gotten the most calls on this. Anti. And, you can't let it go through. We don't have a choice. So,
And I don't mean it, to affect anyone's decisions. This is where we're supposed to be talking about this stuff, and it's been a lot of sleepless nights lately thinking about this and a lot of polarized opinions, and, doesn't matter how you vote, you're gonna let someone down. I struggle seeing a smoke shop in what I envision I want in this town, until I can tell my kids to live here, I'm not happy with it. And I would hope that they stay close, and I just don't picture a smoke shop in my vision of what I want the downtown to look like in 10 years, and I don't wish them any ill will. It was a hard decision to make.
Well,
We can move on.
we have an open building in the city and someone purchases it.
Yep.
I don't know that, granted, like Mark said in his article in the paper, there's a lot of businesses that could be there. But there has to be somebody that comes to town and says, I want to buy the building and put that business in there. So, unfortunately or fortunately, we have a business that came forward, and this is the outcome.
Well, you can say that with a lot of buildings down there. So it's hard, and a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. So we have a bird in the hand, and I guess we're gonna have to.
We have another smoke shop in town. And I don't remember when we went through this for that, if I was on the council then or not, but it was not near the,
Ernie's already had a tobacco license.
Yeah, I think their tobacco license transferred from the Fifth Street location.
it wasn't
down.
quite the need, it was less of a process, so to speak.
Yeah, and again, like we've talked, we have one type of tobacco license.
Right.
So it covers it covers the whole gamut, and there are some cities that have what I've described as an accessory sale type of tobacco license, which would be most of your grocery stores or convenience stores, where there's a different primary product or service that they provide. And then they have a tobacco store license, where tobacco is the product that they provide. So, we can talk about if we want to do anything with, that type of thing going forward. So, I think in City Attorney Kruger's memo, we have to follow our rules. follow the ordinance that we laid out, so. I believe that is defensible.
All right.
Thank you for sharing.
Now we'll move on to item number 7, consider first reading of ordinance 545, amending chapter 103, articles 3 and 4 of buildings and building regulations.
So ordinance 545, basically what it does is it adds the administrative penalty option to our building maintenance code inspection and also the rental housing inspection process. We have it in other areas where an administrative fine is a possibility. Our inspectors that are doing this stuff have utilized this a lot in other communities and have found that it's a pretty effective tool. Keep it out of the courts and just deal with it in fines and, basically be able to use that as a tool to get compliance.
Isn't there already a provision built into that where you get a double, if you're caught building without, I assume that's this about, if you're caught building without a permit?
Yeah, it's a similar thing to that, but within the building maintenance code and housing, rental housing ordinance, it doesn't specify that can be part of the penalty. So we're just trying to kind of clean that up and get that added to it.
So that the doubling of the permit fee and $250?
No, this isn't building permit specific. This is, the section 10356 is building maintenance code. The 10389 is the rental housing code. And the majority of the language that's in there, like on the, and I could bring you kind of a strike through or underline deal, but it's the in addition section that we would be adding on that, where it talks about the administrative penalties. The other stuff up above is already there, where it says it constitutes do any act that constitutes a breach of any section of this shall upon conviction thereof be guilty of a misdemeanor subject to a fine or imprisonment, yada, yada. Prefer to keep it out of that, have the administrative fine option available to us.
So the administrative fine, does that go to the city or who does that go to?
Yeah, it would go to the city.
It stays in the city then, or it goes to the building inspector?
Yeah, it would come to the city and stay at, it's not a, they're basically doing their inspection stuff on an hourly basis. So it's not a fee that goes to the inspector. And I can't remember back, we had done administrative fines at one time with, I think, wasn't it speeding tickets or something?
We did them for a lot of different things.
And then the state tried to, kind of claw that back or something. I don't remember what it was.
Right.
So anyway, it's just adding the language that would enable the use of administrative penalties, if it comes to that.
So this would be primarily for rental code violations then, or?
Building maintenance code and rental code.
So somebody,
Those are the two sections.
if somebody wants to do an upgrade or something on their property and they don't get a building permit, it falls into one of those two things then?
No, these are, the exterior building maintenance code, if the inspector goes and says you got a broken window on the second floor and you've got peeling paint on the fascia, you got 30 days to fix those. And then if they don't, you could do the fine as opposed to going through the court process to try to enforce that. And then you can also approach it from the standpoint of, if you get it done in 2 weeks, we'll waive the penalty, so it's kind of just another tool to be able to use, so. Like I say, Scott has found it, to be a valuable tool in other communities that he's done inspections in. It's totally separate and unrelated from building code inspection, or building permits for that matter.
I really kind of struggle with this a little bit because, and I know I get upset when the housing is not in good condition. I get upset with that. But I also look at it, well, 38% of the houses in Staple are rental houses, right? Is that what it is? 38%?
I think, slightly under a third. Or there's, as far as the households, I think about a third.
But I look around at some of these people and they struggle every day. They've got kids, they've got, and I don't, I know there's no good answer, but I'm just gonna say that I'm not totally heartless anyway, but, there's, you go there and if you just can't, if it comes down to feeding your kids or paying the gas bill or whatever, keeping insurance and license on your car and that kind of stuff, and then you show up and knock on the door and say you gotta paint your fascia or we're gonna gouge you for $250, and I grew up in a family like that where we didn't have anything. There was 5 kids in our family, and my dad had a job that didn't pay much on the railroad, but it didn't pay much, and we struggled day by day. I watched my mom many times take a pound of hamburger and feed 7 people with it, and I struggle with it a lot, and I don't know if the strong arm approach is the answer to it necessarily. I realize I like to see the houses around my place fixed up and looking good, but I've gotten so used to looking at a lot of them, it doesn't matter anymore. So, but.
Well,
That's where I'm at.
I should note, again, that the top half of that paragraph is our existing language, that basically, talks about upon conviction thereof, they'd be guilty of a misdemeanor and subject to a fine or imprisonment.
But if they don't pay the administrative ticket, it goes to the, well, if we're not gonna do that, then we shouldn't do it at all.
No, but what I'm saying is we're not, people aren't being imprisoned.
But I know, but I mean, it goes, if they don't pay the administrative, the next step is, I believe, if I recall right, the next step is to issue a citation and have them go to court. Right?
What they do in the other communities is they will ultimately assess it to the property.
Because if they don't have enough money to fix up their house, $250 is, they're not gonna have that either. So it'll be assessed.
Well, if we have a lot of people that aren't able to keep their houses up, and we're having more and more of that, we have to have some method to try to improve that ultimate goal, I suppose, can't have your cake, eat it too. I mean, if you got a lot of houses that are in rough shape and it's not something that we desire, we have to have some way to try to improve that.
I look at a lot of them in there that out-of-town renter, people that own the houses from out of town that rent them.
But aren't those,
And
I live
that's
right
why
by
they should
two
be
of them.
fined $250.
But I live right by 2 of them, and people live in Ice Santee or somewhere, and they haven't spent nickel one on the thing since they bought them, and the people prior to that owned them didn't spend any money on them, and the guy prior to that owned them didn't spend any money on them. And that's what I look at every single day. But they're making money off them, they're getting paid. I'm sure they're Section 8 housing actually, and probably getting a check from the county for it, and living down in wherever he is, Santee or wherever town he lives in. Probably living in a sweet house with
It's probably a good point to have this in.
Yeah, so
No.
because what you're saying,
It
Doug, is
is, but
that,
then, but then you got local people too that.
Yeah, I understand that. But I want, what would the percentage be of, that are renting a home and they're living in conditions that they shouldn't have to live under because the landowner won't fix it?
Right?
I think there's way too many of that than there are people who own a house and not taking care of it. And I'm sure,
But the problem is.
I wouldn't know what the percentage is, but,
we're trying to get at the people.
but if we want those who are own maybe 20 pieces of property in the city and don't do anything with them, if we want them to continue to do that, I don't think, we're not helping ourselves there.
I don't think this is the end all either, I don't think it's gonna fix the problem. But
If they had 10 pieces, it'd be quite a bit of money.
We're trying to target the people that own these properties but live in a mansion somewhere else. The people that live in these properties, the ones that are barely getting by, aren't gonna be fined the $250. It's the people
Sure
that
they
are
are.
living in a mansion. No, they aren't.
we can't, it doesn't say the out-of-town people, it says, I
It's
mean, you
the
can't pick and
rental
choose,
property.
you can't pick and choose.
As I said, there's two different sections here. Section 103-56 has to do with enforcement of the building maintenance code. Section 103-89 is rental housing code. Both of them have to do with the condition of the properties.
So the owner of the home is who gets the fine?
Yeah.
Yeah, whether he's renting it out or whether he owns it, yeah, so.
Like I said, this was requested by our inspector because they found it to be an effective tool in other communities that they've done inspections in. I was surprised to find that we didn't have it as an option.
And he doesn't get anything for it at all?
I'd entertain a motion to approve the first reading.
So moved.
Motion by Mary,
I'll second.
second by Roy. Any further discussion?
I would agree with you, Doug, if it affected the renter. But if it affects the property owner and they're not doing what they should be doing, it should affect them if they're not keeping up their end of things.
Any further discussion?
I would like to, I mean, I don't know, maybe, because I don't think this went through any committee or anything where there was any discussion, right? Because you and Scott or whoever is sitting in your office, and he said we should do this, and we drafted this.
Actually, it started off in a conversation with Scott and our city attorney and I working on enforcement of some of the rental code stuff. That's where it came up.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Move on to committee reports, Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Parks and Rec met on June 13th. Jewison had asked if Music in the Park was a Parks and Recreation event, and Nelson informed us that the Staples Motley Area Arts Council has that event, and their first night will be on July 9th. They did add an additional date this year to their lineup, so that's fantastic for them. July 9th will also be the first unveiling of the 50th barn quilt. So I have to talk to Lisa Kyer yet to get all the details on the time and everything that they want to do that, and then I can get that info to everybody, so hopefully everybody can be there. This year, we started a, beach library, box out at Dower. It's to put sand toys that are no longer used by other kids, so other kids can use them, kind of like the book boxes that are already out around town. So far that's been a fantastic hit. Other people have put toys in there. I've put toys in there, and it's being used, so. We also talked about the campground in Pine Grove getting mosquito treatment done. They'll do 3 applications throughout the summer. Every 3 weeks they'll apply until August, because then after August, we're not gonna need anything, because the mosquitoes aren't too bad after that. FFA was able to get all the flowers planted in the small town, downtown planters. The Lions got the flowers planted in the community sign by the police department. And then Jewison said that the downtown group was going to plant the big planters on June 21st, and they were able to get 2 done. So 3 more to go. And then we adjourned at 5:51.
Any questions for Lacey at all? Thanks, Lacey. Move on to open forum. Anyone here have anything for open forum this evening? If not, move on to a city administrator's report.
Just a couple of quick updates. Went over to the Batcher Opera House, met with Colleen for about 45 minutes here a couple weeks ago, and got a little bit of a tour from her with what some of her plans are for that new York Room area. And the white building on the south side, the asbestos is out of that, so it'll be coming down shortly. The contractor is able to get there and do it. New roof has been put on the Opera House on the building, which will preserve that asset, so lots of plans down there. We went over to the Wadena County Board meeting. The mayor, Melissa, and myself presented information on our ARPA request, it's basically some utility work out in the industrial building, or in the industrial park. That was well received and approved. So I hope to get that project done here this fall. Met with the school on some of their building project, and had some conversations with Shane and Leroy. A lot of logistical types of things going on over there, so it's gonna be a busy summer. Had LEAP meeting. Just, want to update the rest of the council. Thank you, John, for arranging with CLC. We had somebody take some soil samples in the tree grates downtown to have that soil analyzed, just to find out if anything will grow in it, what it's lacking. It continues to be a mystery how some trees are doing well, others are dying repeatedly. So you probably noticed we did have a tree grate discussion on the preliminary agenda that we pulled off, hoping to have some kind of results back from that. So maybe we'll be able to make an educated decision. And then lastly, there is a groundbreaking scheduled for tomorrow evening down at the Essentia Clinic site. I believe at 6 o'clock.
6 p.m.
6, so that's all I have, unless there's questions.
Move that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.